and welcome back to the Earthdawn Survival Guide, the podcast for all disciplines, paths, players, and game masters, with your questers, Josh and Dan. I am Dan.
I am Josh.
And on today's podcast, we'll be discussing all things Larcenical, Part 2. I'm teasing. It's Larcenous, Part 2, because I was corrected many episodes ago, and Larcenical not being a word. So
that hasn't stopped you before.
And it's not going to stop me again. So I will keep doing that because it's fun. But anyway.
Before we get into that, we haven't mentioned it until now. If you are listening and you are not aware, Earthdawn 4th Edition has the Kickstarter running right now for the next book in the line.
Now?
Grand Bazaar, which is a book focused mainly on the giant market that is right inside the Gates of Thrall, and using that to explore some of the political changes and situation in the Dwarf Kingdom in the wake of the Second Theron War and various other things that have been happening in Barsave. In addition to the book itself, there are a whole bunch of cool add-ons that are available, including a plush Mountainshadow.
That's going to be mine.
Including several newly commissioned miniatures. We've got a Tiskrang, we've got an Obsidian, we've got a Troll, we've got an Orc figure, all designed up and going into production. We also have a Verjigorm figure.
Oh, yes.
We have the Verjigorm figure. There are pictures at the Kickstarter story site that show the scale of the like normal sized Namegiver miniatures compared to the Verjigorm fig. The Verjigorm fig is massive and gorgeous,
huge,
and scary, and it's got like a dragon skull clutched in one of its claws. So that's available. Also, there are add-ons that are opening up as we hit various stretch goals. One of the things that is a feature of the Grand Bazaar is advertising and marketing. And so we are giving people an opportunity when we hit certain stretch goals, we're opening up a couple more slots to have their player character be like the face on the Wheaties box.
Yeah.
Where there's like a little flyer that will be promoting some kind of product or whatever, and they can have their character be the one that is sort of on this little poster, this little like poster flyer thing that would in theory be slapped up on frames and in places around the bazaar to try and get people to come to a particular shop or to try a particular product or service or whatever.
So the player character can buy ad space in the Grand Bazaar book.
Yeah, basically.
To sell their wares and build their legend.
It would be really, really cool if on this one we could hit the $50,000 stretch goal, because that's the one that is going to open up the art budget quite a bit, which would be really, really cool to have, because that means that we can get more and or more expensive artists involved in terms of producing art for the book. That campaign is running through June 14th. It ends as of midnight Eastern time, June 14th, switching over into June 15th. So as of the release of this episode, we've basically got about 2 weeks left. So if you were not aware, go to Kickstarter, search for Earthdawn, search for Grand Bazaar, search for Facet Games. Any of those should take you to the campaign. Obviously, as well, it is linked in social media. It is linked on the Discord. So please check it out. I've been linking it from the Survival Guide's Twitter feed and stuff like that. So it is possible to find. Please check out. Oh, and that is because, of course, podcasts are forever. That is 2022 are the dates of that.
Yeah, because as of right now, the Grand Bazaar Kickstarter on Earthdawn is just over 36,000 as of the recording. As of this recording, so got 14,000 to go.
Yeah, there aren't as many like reward tiers to pick from because we have so many books and stuff going on and whatnot. We basically have some fairly straightforward base levels, but because Kickstarter now allows people to do add-ons at the time of that they make their pledge, just about everything that we have made available before that is still in stock is available as add-ons. So you could buy, like, do just the book, but do the plush as an add-on or whatever. Go there and check that out. The book is being finished up. Vasgothia, just a quick update there. The pre-art backer draft went out to backers of that campaign a few weeks back. Art is coming in. And so as soon as we can get all of the art in and the full PDF layout done, that will be made available here as well. But the writing is done now. It's just a matter of finishing the production.
Absolutely. So now that we've talked about the legitimately selling, let's go talk about rhyming and stealing.
Nice. That's a good transition. You just came up with that too, didn't you?
I so off the top of my head. It's one of those, I'm like, yeah, at this time of the morning, my brain's actually firing a little bit more on full cylinders than it does in the evening.
Oh, yeah. We are actually recording here atypically. We're recording on a Monday instead of a Wednesday evening like we usually do. Yeah. Because when we went to record last time, my internet was garbage, and the video call that we do that allows us to sort of see and hear each other as we are recording on our individual machines was just not letting us. No, it was just not letting us communicate. We anyway toyed real briefly with the idea of just like calling each other on the phone and doing it over the phone, while still recording into our respective machines.
Yeah.
But it was just like, no, we'll just like, we looked at our schedules and we're just like, well, we've got some other weird schedule changes that are going on because I'm going to be going on vacation latter part of June, which is normally like one of our recording weeks. We've got a special interview coming up here in a little bit that I'm kind of looking forward to. And I actually want to send some info to you, Dan, so you can maybe do a little bit of prep beforehand.
I will do so.
I won't say anything more about that right now.
Not until it happens.
But that is all scheduled and lined up for something that I think should be of interest to our listeners.
Agreed.
Because it is something that has become more of interest to me in recent years, and something that has become more of a conversation in tabletop gaming circles, particularly in indie gaming circles, but in broadly speaking tabletop gaming circles in general. And I kind of refer to it at times with things, but we're going to do a deep dive on some stuff with a special guest.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
No, it's not Lou.
It is not Lou. We will get to Lou at some point.
Yeah.
This special guest was more of we're not doing it for a like specific like special numbered episode. It's just, oh, hey, this is an idea that I had. I reached out to them. They said, oh yeah, sure. And we kind of like worked out scheduling, and we'll be doing a recording. So
yeah, no worries. Rhyming and stealing. Welcome back to The Thief. How about we get the 2-minute rundown on the very special place that the Thief discipline holds in the Earthdawn realm?
We talked about this quite a bit, I seem to recall, with the first Thief, Thief episode, where we talked about the novice and journeyman tiers. The Thief holds kind of a weird place in some regards because the original design of the Thief discipline was modeled very, very strongly on Jirol in Chris Kubasic's novel The Longing Ring, where Jirol gets initiated to be a thief, and that all of the things that he demonstrates during that novel had to be made available to the first circle of the first edition Thief, because that's the only way that the mechanics could reflect the narrative of what was going on at the time.
Yeah. Kind of a hard thing to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine, but the Thief has always kind of occupied a little bit of a weird space. Such a weird space, in fact, that when the Adept's Way came along, the essay, the point of view, the perspective of the Thief that was presented in that book was one that was very different in a way from Jirol and Garlthik, who were sort of the iconic thieves prior to that point, both of whom were very self-centered and selfish and not the kind of characters who would be suitable for a long-term positive relationship with an adventuring party. Kind of like taking on some of the potentially worst aspects of role-playing game thieves, and more specifically D&D thieves, where you have characters who, in the hands of a difficult or obnoxious player, would be stealing from party members and potentially betraying them and basically being out for themselves in a situation where that kind of thing is ultimately a liability. Like if you are in a dangerous situation where you are delving into a dangerous abandoned care, you need to be able to rely on your fellow party members. I'm actually now just remembering that the POV character of Inheritance, the short story that's in the original first edition book and was reprinted in the Player's Compendium for Classic and in third edition, is a thief, but is certainly not given the strong personality and mystical point of view that I think came to typify things a little bit late, not much later, but a little bit later in the line. And the characters in that one were all a little bit more like traditional adventurers, just kind of like playing their role and doing their thing. But anyway, all of that aside, the thief ultimately is about taking things. And the method and the way by which they take things can vary from thief to thief.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that is what defines the thief philosophically. Now, they could be that I am liberating treasures from the nasty things that have stolen them away, or operating as a spy, stealing secrets from bad guys, or, however it is that the thief in question wants to frame the way that they operate and the things that they do and why they do them. But all of them tend to be focused on the sort of stereotypical thief thing, modeled kind of going back quite a ways to like the Fafford and Grey Mouser stories from Fritz Lieber and stuff like that. The thief, the rogue, all of that sort of thing has been very strongly iconic to some degree within fantasy fiction and even science fiction to a certain extent. Like, I wouldn't necessarily make Han Solo a thief, but he is a scoundrel and a smuggler and a rogue, and those sorts of characters are very strongly represented within the speculative fiction genre.
Yes.
You've got entire games that are based around that. You've got entire genres. The heist film, the heist genre is based around thieves, each of whom have their specialties and their focus. You look at a game like Blades in the Dark, which is a game that is just completely built around the idea of you are playing a gang of thieves and you are doing jobs, and how you maneuver through and manipulate the underworld situation that you are in.
The TV show Leverage was five thieves.
Phenomenal game. Phenomenal show.
Phenomenal show.
Or, you look at something like Firefly. Again, like sort of an iconic kind of thing. Like a lot of the ideas of rogues and bandits and whatnot, but heroic ones, usually underdogs standing up against the man and trying to undercut and do things. So it's a really strong archetype. Yeah. And it is completely understandable that people might want to play them. And they have some skills and abilities, at least in Earthdawn, that are very useful when it comes to adventuring in dangerous situations, whether that is in an urban environment or care delving.
Yes.
We talked about this, I bet, quite a bit in the first episode. I didn't go back and listen to it.
I didn't either.
But I'm sure we talked about how the choices that are made in terms of what their discipline talents are and what their talent options are allow a few different approaches in terms of how you build your thief to suit the campaign style and the personal style that you might be wanting to express as a thief.
Yeah.
A lot of that groundwork has been laid at this point. Go back and listen to that previous episode if you want to be reminded.
Episode 31.
Somewhere in those kind of low double-digit episodes. But we're going to be looking at the higher circle options here, the Warden and the Master, and look at how the abilities and stuff that they get either enhance those themes even more strongly, or perhaps allow them to branch out a little bit more and become more versatile in ways that their earlier circles wouldn't necessarily have allowed.
Absolutely. And let's remind everybody, since this was an archetype, I can't say founded in D&D, but in D&D, there is a alignment you kind of have to allow your thief to operate in, whereas Earthdawn doesn't have that. There's a whole lot more versatility and flexibility to be the thief you want to be and the motivations you'd like to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Absolutely. And the essay in the original Adept's Way is one that kind of makes a strong case for that, in that it is the gift of theft, the idea that this individual thief was like, I am freeing people by taking things because they are then no longer shackled by stuff. and has some strong words for the selfish thief archetype that is typified by Garlthic in particular. I think Jarol kind of changed over the course of his life, but Garlthic, as we have discussed many times on this show, Garlthic is the iconic selfish thief, and ultimately, when push comes to shove, will choose himself over anything else.
Totally. So at 9th circle, of the first beginning of the Warden tier for the thief, at 9th circle, everybody gets something fun, as I've said before, keep saying it again. The thief gets Shadow Sight, this wonderful ability. The thief no longer suffers any penalties due to visibility. This includes spells and other effects that impose these penalties, like ethereal darkness. In addition, the thief's Shadow Cloak grants them greater insight into the dark. And while Shadow Cloak is active, the thief adds a +3 bonus to awareness when darkness penalties would normally apply. This ability does not affect penalties brought about by blindness. I think actually, getting something thrown in your eyes. But other than that, they also get the ability to spend a point of karma now on recovery tests, and the discipline talent, Power Mask.
Before we get to Power Mask, let's pop back onto that special
Shadow
ability.
Sight. Totally.
It refers to Shadow Cloak, which is the 5th circle special ability that thieves get. The discipline ability they get at Circle 5.
Nice.
It allows them, as a simple action for 2 strain, to increase the difficulty number for any tests made to detect them. It lasts for minutes, equal to the thief's threadweaving rank. This is something that pops off and makes them more difficult to detect.
Yeah.
Through whatever means that might be defined.
Mm-hmm.
So it like increases the difficulty, basically, like if you're using Stealthy Stride.
Yeah.
You might roll a 24, but if your Shadow Cloak is active, then it'll effectively be a 26 for people to spot you, like that sort of thing. So the Shadow Sight, continuing the themes of darkness and stealth that are part of the thief all the way around, even if you're sort of talking about a con man social type thief, there's still a sense of concealment and mystery and shadow and darkness that kind of plays around there. It's just more metaphorical than literal. But Shadow Sight allows the thief to get around the penalties that would affect them while they are operating within that shadowy, dark environment. In this case, literal as opposed to metaphorical. If they have their Shadow Cloak going at the same time, their ability to perceive and notice things is even more enhanced, and ethereal darkness is no longer a problem once you're a Warden tier thief.
Yeah.
The only things that actually would affect you are actual blindness. That is like stuff that is actually affecting their eyes in a way that would prevent them from seeing in general, not just darkness.
Yeah. Cloth. Hooded, hoods, things like that. So if you're blindfolded.
In terms of like cool, flavorful abilities, this stands up there with the Beastmaster ability. They get at a much lower circle, but the ability where knocking them down doesn't really affect them at all because standing back up is a free action that doesn't cost them anything.
Yeah.
Cat's Paw, I think is the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just like in terms of these are really, really cool abilities that get around a mechanical thing, but also are very in flavor. And then Power Mask, to talk about the discipline talent, plays even more into the concealment idea. Power Mask allows the thief to hide the fact that they are an adept. It increases the difficulty number or sets a difficulty number for anybody who is trying to sense what kind of powers or abilities they might have to hide those.
Yeah.
Masking the fact that, oh, I am a reasonably powerful adept. You can't tell that I am. So you do not have reason to suspect that I might actually be a thief.
Which is a thief thing to do. Just saying. I love that idea that they just, no, I'm the one you can't tell. And that works for me. On to 10th circle, the thieves finally get the +2 to their social defense initial number. And they also get to get an additional recovery test per day, because it's finally about time they did so, because thieves are a little squishy on occasion, depends on your kind of thief. But the discipline talent they get here is also very new to the companion, Astral Pocket. This is cool.
Yeah, this is cool. This has shown up with Wizard, I think. Yeah, we've talked about it before. It's a magical storage space that is in astral space and travels along with the adept. It is small. You can't keep a lot in it, but for a thief who might want to have items that are being concealed or who might have just stolen something and possibly be getting caught, they lifted the ring off of the ambassador's finger or whatever, they can drop it in the astral pocket so that when the guards go and search them, they still have it, but it is not actually on their person to be found.
Exactly.
It can't hold a lot. It can only hold small things, but whatever kind of necessary, small, beneficial stuff or accoutrements they might need to sneak past a checkpoint or to get out of something or whatever, can come in awfully handy.
Oh, no kidding. It is a Warden option for the Wizard, but it is a discipline talent for the Thief. So there's the thing right there. 11th circle, the Thief gets the +1 to their Mystic defense from their original number. And they may now spend a point of karma on damage tests made against targets suffering a penalty to their physical defense. So, a little wrinkle in that.
Yeah. Well, this would include, for example, somebody who is knocked down because they suffer a penalty to their physical defense while they are knocked down.
Or making an aggressive attack.
Yeah, somebody who might be doing an aggressive attack. Likewise, there are numerous talents available that might penalize somebody's physical defense. Because when you're talking about damage output, the thief's primary way of dealing additional damage is through surprise strike, which usually comes about through blindside or surprise or knockdown or something like that. This provides an even more ways to kind of pump karma into that damage test.
Totally. And at 11th circle, the discipline talent, the thieves get Chameleon.
Yes, Chameleon is an enhancement to stealth. It doesn't require a test on its own. It is a little bit of illusion magic, so it would potentially be enhanced by things like false sight and whatnot. It just adds the rank in Chameleon to the difficulty for any tests made to avoid detection. So stacking even more potentially on top of what you could do with like Shadow Cloak and stuff like that. Also, it allows the adept to move at their normal speed as opposed to the lower speeds that are usually required for stealth type activities.
Absolutely. And 12th circle, the last tier for Warden, the thief gets a +4 from the original number to the physical defense, replacing the +3 from earlier. And you also get a +2 now to your base initiative step. So not bad. Moving up in the world. And your discipline talent is new to the companion, Beguiling Blade.
Yes. This is pretty interesting. Using a combination of stealth, illusion, and some sort of misdirection mind magic, they can conceal items. This is an add-on. It increases the result of any conceal object tests, and it allows them to use conceal object as a simple action instead of a standard action. Conceal object being a lower circle talent that is available to them, basically allowing them to stash something away, commonly used for like daggers and stuff like that, so that people don't notice it and that they can use it to bring it out to like do surprise for potentially a surprise strike or something like that. But also, again, any other potential object or thing that they might want to conceal in some fashion. It's just sort of an enhancement to that earlier ability.
All good stuff. So we've covered 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th circles. So you got 4 ranks here, 4 circles to get through for your Warden talents. But there are options. You, of course, get one of these at each circle, and there's a nice long list. So the ones that are new to the companion we'll get to in just a second or so, because some of these are catching up, as in other disciplines have done the same thing, catching up on some of these talents from earlier circles that they can finally get a hold of. Acrobatic defense for the thief, anticipate blow, astral sight, orbiting spy, which I think is so appropriate for the thief, resist taunt, tiger spring, the initiative booster, and wind catcher, which I think is unique for the space that the thief operates in. Wind catcher is kind of an odd take on that one.
Yeah, all of these kind of make sense. Acrobatic defense, anticipate blow, both of those are nice defensive talents that there really wasn't space for, given everything that needed to be provided to the thieves in the earlier circles, but absolutely would be appropriate in terms of their desire to not be hit or not be caught. In a sense, the one that you choose would, I think, largely depend on whether you are more dexterity-based, which would be the acrobatic defense, or perception-based, which would be anticipate blow, because they are each based off of those respective attributes and target either physical or mystic defense, depending on which one it is. The advantage that anticipate blow provides is that it does provide a bonus on your first attack that you are making against the anticipated target that round. Acrobatic defense, on the other hand, allows you to universally boost your physical defense against everybody in the vicinity with just a single test, whereas with anticipate blow, you need to sort of test against each individual target that you want to use it against. So there's some trade-offs there. Astral sight, thieves, especially when they start getting into this level, are going to be dealing a lot more with potentially magic protections and defenses. Having the ability to see and examine the patterns of wards or magical traps or that sort of thing could be very, very handy. Orbiting spy, sometimes the thief does need to operate alone given their circumstances, but orbiting spy does give them the ability to have backup that is not a Namegiver. It basically summons a little spirit that kind of keeps an eye on things and will let you know if something that you are watching out for happens. Resist taunt, fantastic, useful, active social defense. It's the avoid blow of social defense. Tiger spring, initiative boosting is always useful, especially if you're, going into the anticipate blow route. But just being able to move even faster or act earlier in the round allows you to get out of situations that you might not want to be in. Wind catcher is a little bit unusual, but cool, because thieves are often operating, especially in urban environments, at heights, climbing walls, scaling rooftops, all of that sort of thing. And having a talent that can protect you from the potential downsides of failing one of those rolls, or being in a situation where you're being chased across a roof or whatever, and maybe just be able to, or be up on a, second or third story of a building and being able to just go out the window and, safely drift down to the ground where most, direct pursuit would not be able to follow you, is really, really cool. And I'm kind of glad that's included in there.
So those all sound fantastic for the thief, and we can get to the ones that are new to the companion now at the Warden talent options list. So starting off with those, Echolocation, which I think is very cool for the thief to get.
Echolocation, like some of the other abilities we've talked about, is an enhancement. It allows the thief to get bonuses to awareness tests and allows them to detect things in a situation where sight, for one reason or another, would not apply. This is not necessarily super useful given the thief's ability to ignore all darkness penalties that they get at Ninth Circle, but there are situations where blindness might still apply, like if they are actually blindfolded or have suffered some damage to their eyes or something like that. But they can use this to enhance and track their ability, enhance their ability to notice and track things within their environment.
Yeah, or if something else is invisible, they can at least bounce the sound off of it. Know where it is. It's kind of like a daredevil thing.
Yeah.
Who knows? Second up is Escape Plan. I think this one's new. We've not talked about this yet at all.
No, it hasn't. This is a cool one. If The adept is imprisoned or trapped. They essentially use magic to determine the best way out of their current predicament. They need to meditate uninterrupted for 30 minutes. Then they make a test, the difficulty of which is a base 6 modified by a bunch of potential issues. And the number of successes determine how successful they are at the magic sort of helping them determine a way out. Each success gives them and anybody who is accompanying them and following the plan +2 to any tests directly involved in escaping. It does not modify combat or spellcasting, so it doesn't help you in a fight, but in terms of getting out of things, it's really useful. Yeah, this is just like, I magically am coming up with a plan to break out of jail or break out of this other situation that we might be in.
Totally. It's not good for like a collapsed room and it's filling up with water and you're going to drown. So, because you have to meditate for 30 minutes, you don't have time for that. But if you have time for it, escape plan is fantastic.
Well, yeah. If you have the time to let the magic work, it is really, really useful. In a time pressure situation, it is not going to do you any good whatsoever.
Fair enough. And the last one on the list, because a lot of disciplines are getting this one lately that we've talked about, perfect focus for the thief.
This increases the adept's ability to perform sustained actions. It synergizes really, really well with escape plan because escape plan is a sustained action. So it would allow the adept to gain bonuses to that escape plan test. Mm-hmm. There is not as much stuff that the thief gets in terms of sustained actions that this might be applicable to. But obviously, forgery, any kind of sort of like craft related tests where the thief might be making something. I don't remember whether disguise is a sustained test or not. Not disguise self, which is the magical thing that I think some thieves get, but the actual disguise skill. Disguise is a sustained action. So if you are using a more mundane disguise approach to things, then perfect focus could conceivably work on that. Because the thing that you are targeting with perfect focus does not itself need to be magical. It just gives you a magical boost to anything that is sustained.
Fair enough. On to 13th Circle, because the Warden talents and Warden talent options are all very cool for the thief to pick up. And at 13th Circle, each discipline gets their own wonderful thing as well. This one is even cooler, I think, than Shadow Sight. This is Shadow Meld. And the thief's Shadow Cloak allows for unparalleled stealth now. They take 4 strain and make a thread weaving test at a target number of 6. And at 13th Circle, you should be having some serious dice on this one. If successful, you meld with your Shadow Cloak for 1 hour, becoming a 2-dimensional silhouette that can easily slip through any cracks light could spill through. Each success on the test grants you a +2 bonus to physical and mystic defense, as well as any action test to escape notice. While in this form, you cannot interact with anything physical, because you're 2-dimensional, and talents that provide their own tools, like lockpicking, may be used at Game Master discretion, and you can end the effect at any time you wish. It doesn't have to last for the full duration. So this one's cool. You become 2-dimensional and can slip through everything.
Yeah.
Like a cartoon character.
If you're familiar with Earthdawn lore, there is a horror/horror construct called the Slipshade, which has a very similar ability to sort of temporarily shift into a 2-dimensional form that you can't really interact with at all. This allows the thief to slip under the crack of a door to get into a room. This allows all sorts of potentially cool stuff, in addition to what will probably be hefty bonuses to physical and mystic defense, as well as your ability to not be noticed. This is just amazing and sort of the pinnacle of the progression that you have from Shadow Cloak to Shadow Sight to Shadow Meld.
Yeah.
It's just a really nice sort of continuation of the stealth and darkness themes that the thief is really entwined with.
Chef's kiss. Beautiful stuff. For defense, the thief finally gets a +3 to their social defense from their original number, and the karma step at 13th Circle increases from a D6 to a D8. I always get that one wrong. And the thief gets a +1 to their mystic armor. All very cool things. Because it's 13th circle, we're just kind of loading you up here on the thief. But your discipline talent is Impossible Hide.
This one's great. This does two things. One, at its base level, it provides a bonus to stealthy stride tests. The second thing that it does is that it allows the adept to hide behind anything, even if normally they would not be able to hide behind it. So,
you can hide behind a vase.
Like, if there's a lamppost, you could pull the cartoon character thing of where you, like, sneak behind the lamppost, and even though you are wider than this thing, the magic is sort of concealing you to the point that as long as you are not successfully detected, they just don't notice you. Like, you could hide behind a small rock, and they don't notice you unless they move or otherwise interact with the object that you are hiding behind, in which case you sort of bloop, appear out of nowhere, gaining surprise, and you can, as long as you can continue to pay the strain to maintain it, it lasts until you decide to end it or you're discovered.
Yeah, that one's just going to be very, very cool. So at 14th circle, the thief finally gets their last +5 to their original physical defense, and they get their second additional recovery test per day. So that's kind of where you're going to stop on that one. But still, 2 more is not bad. And your discipline talent at 14th circle is called Snatch Talent.
Snatch Talent is another really cool, like, extension of the thief's abilities. Something like this, I'm pretty sure, appeared in earlier editions, but it allows the thief, using pickpockets, to temporarily steal another adept's magical talents. Using this, they test against the target. They can either target a specific talent if they're aware of it, or go for something at random. They can only steal talents with a rank equal to or lower than their Snatch Talent rank, and they can't have Snatch Talent higher than their pickpockets, but considering pickpockets is a low circle talent, that's probably going to be pretty high to begin with.
Yeah.
Basically, you steal it from the target for 1 round per success. It doesn't allow the thief to actually use the ability in question on its own, but basically it takes that ability away from the target for as long as the effect that is in place. Grab that little bit of astral energy and hold onto it while, magically speaking, while the effect is in place. And it would allow a thief to potentially, say, steal the melee weapons talent from a lower circle or lower ranked swordmaster.
Yeah.
Removing their ability to effectively fight with a sword for a few rounds, or to steal the spell casting from a magician, or claw shape from a beastmaster.
Steal the emotion song from a troubadour.
Yeah. And I mean, when the duration expires, it immediately returns to the target. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take that so you can't use it. There you go. Yeah, that's I think one of the more powerful tools in their toolkit here. So on to 15th circle, because there's the last one here. And again, this should not be enough for you because 15th circle is the pinnacle. The thief gets a +2 to their mystic defense, and they get their initiative step now up to a +3 from their base. So you're doing pretty well in the world. And the 15th circle discipline talent is Dream Thief, which we've talked about once before.
Have we?
I think Dream Thief was from the Wizard, wasn't it?
I think there may be something that would be weird if that's the case, because Dream Thief is connected, much like Snatch Talent. Dream Thief is connected to pickpockets.
Gotcha.
There might have been a similar ability that is available maybe to the Illusionist.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
But Dream Thief allows the thief to use their pickpockets, or enhances their pickpockets, to allow them to reach into the target's pattern and temporarily steal memories.
Oh, there you go.
They won't necessarily notice right away that their memory is being stolen. It can affect talents, it can affect spells, it can kind of affect mundane skills. It imposes a penalty to people's abilities to use skills if it's specifically targeted. But yeah, it just allows people to have their memories messed with Similar to Snatch Talent, the memory does return when the duration ends. And it lasts 1 day per success. So
that could be a while, yeah.
It would allow you, you could perhaps snatch the memory of the guard seeing you, giving you enough time to get away so that when the memory is returned, you are no longer in a situation where that's going to cause you a problem.
I had it confused with Memory Probe. That's where I got it wrong. This Memory Probe is a Master Talent option for the Wizard. That's
understandable because they have
similar type effects.
They have very similar kind of effects. But Dream Thief, I'm pretty sure, is unique to the Thief because it's the only one, sort of an enhancement to pickpockets and is limited by pickpockets the same way that Snatch Talent is. But it has its own test that it is rolled.
Because your memory is a whole lot better than my research. So, not a problem. I had it screwed up that it was Memory Probe instead of Dream Thief. So, no worries. We're in good shape. Back to the Master Talent options. All of these are new to the Companion. And so at 13th, 14th, and 15th Circle, you only get 3 of these options. Choose wisely, as I always say. There's like 8 of them here, so we'll get to them one at a time. Alley Cat Approach has a neat little name to it.
We talked about this with the Beastmaster when we covered their High Circle stuff a few weeks back. This talent allows the Adept essentially to get bonuses to operate in urban environments. It does cost them a recovery test to use, but each success gives them +2 bonus to initiative, as well as action tests used to navigate and maneuver through urban environments. So climbing, chasing, escaping, not direct combat, but anything else, which obviously would be very, very handy for an urban thief who is operating in that environment.
And next up is, we've talked about this many, many times, Critical Hit.
Critical Hit is a straight up damage adder. Doesn't require any additional test of its own. It's just if you roll high enough on your attack test, then it adds additional damage.
Easy, enough said. Defensive Posture.
Defensive Posture is a boost to physical defense stuff. It adds its rank to any action test that would improve physical defense, so Anticipate Blow, Acrobatic Defense. It also provides bonuses to Avoid Blow and or Riposte tests. So it's an additional enhancement to make your physical defense even higher.
And one of my favorite talent names, Disarming Smile.
Disarming Smile is a social test. It essentially short circuits any hostilities that are going on at the time, allowing people moments to negotiate. It either allows the Adept to actually negotiate or to have a few moments to plan their escape, and it provides a bonus to Graceful Exit, which could come in very handy for the Thief if they are trying to get out of a awkward situation.
Very cool. And I've always thought that the Thief should have this one, and I'm glad that they do as an optional talent, Fluid Movement, because there's grace in sneaking around.
Yeah, Fluid Movement is nice. We talked about this. It increases the character's base movement rate. It also allows them to split movement and attack multiple targets without any kind of penalty. It costs additional strain for each additional opponent that they wish to attack in this way. And since the Thief isn't so much of a multi-target combat type, that aspect of things isn't quite as handy. But the movement rate increase and the ability to split movement without penalty is pretty nice, because you could conceivably move in to take advantage of a surprise strike option and move away without imposing penalties to what you're trying to do.
Agreed. Very cool stuff. 3 to go. We have Netherwalk.
Netherwalk deals really strangely in a way with the movement and infiltration abilities that are kind of the theme of the Thief. It's dangerous. The Adept, because this isn't exclusive to thieves, but the Adept opens a temporary portal into astral space to enter it, and then can use it to cross through astral space instead of crossing through physical space. Yeah, like they could use it in theory to walk through a wall, depending on what's going on, or to get across some kind of obstacle. It's sort of a very dangerous, not quite teleport, but it's the closest thing to that sort of exists within Adept magic.
Very cool. I like it. Dangerous, like you said, but I like it. And the ever-prevalent, ever something better to choose from, but it's still going to be there, Second Chance, which our thoughts are well known on.
Yeah, Second Chance. Everybody gets this.
And the last talent of the Master Talent options, Spirit Strike, which is just cool for thieves to use.
Yeah, Spirit Strike is the one that allows the adept to target someone's mystic defense to hit them. They are making a physical attack, but they are making it magically. It also allows the adept to potentially disrupt spell matrices or something like that. The thief doesn't really get any way of detecting matrices, but the ability to attack mystic defense instead of physical defense does allow them potentially get around high defenses that somebody might have in terms of protecting from a knife in the back.
All very cool stuff. I liked the build out for the thief in the first half. I like him even more in the second half of all the disciplines and the talents and things. I think this has come together very, very nicely for a nice archetype for a thief in comparison to all the other games you could play, possibly play a thief in.
Yeah, you still get with the thief some of the options if you're looking to make a sort of striker combat high damage thief. You've got some options that are going to mix things up. You know, the defensive talents like acrobatic strike or anticipate blow, critical hit, spirit strike, things like that can come in very handy if that's what you're looking for in that regard. If you're looking for more of an infiltrator scout, breaking and entering, B&E specialist kind of thing, you've got astral sight, escape plan, wind catcher.
Your cat burglar stuff.
Disarming smile, fluid movement. Yeah. Alley cat approach is probably super handy for one of those. And then you've just got some other really neat little like flavorful sort of things that might come in handy. But there are some places where some gaps might get filled in a little bit. But all of these, I'm sure, depending on the approach that you have with your thief, you can either find tools that will make them even better at that, or possibly, if you want to diversify a little bit, giving yourself some abilities that allow you to take different approaches than you might have had in your earlier circles, making you sort of more broadly effective going wide and maybe a little bit shallower, as opposed to really deep and focused in one particular approach.
Yeah. I like playing a thief. I actually have a thief in third edition. I need to upgrade him to fourth edition because I like the new skill set over here better. But I made a thief once. I like playing him. It was nice to create a little headspace for the internal morality, to what you said earlier, to just figure out what his motivations were and kind of go from there. So I have a dwarf thief who decides never to actually never pay for a room. He will always just sneak into an abandoned tavern room and then sneak out the next morning. So he never pays for a room. So this is one little wrinkle I put in my thief. How would you do your thief?
I don't know. Honestly, the thief, I recognize them as a great archetype and the value that they have and what they can contribute to things. But the thief is not a discipline that I would be inclined to play. I think they're fantastic. I like what has been done with them. I appreciate the concept that they embody. It's like on the lower end of choices that I would make in terms of a character that I would play. I would be a lot more inclined to play a character that maybe picks up a couple of thief adjacent sort of things rather than play a thief.
Fair. It took me a long time and multiple reads of the Adept's Way to get that headspace around how is stealing from people a heroic, noble thing. And it finally clicked where I'm like, okay, I have my own headspace for this guy now. I'm good. And it took me, like I said, a very long time to get around that. And I got there. And that's fine. I don't play them all that often because that game master's busy right now. But I have my thief and I kind of like him. It works for me. He doesn't steal for himself. He'll steal for other people. So if you give him a job to do, he'll go take care of that and bring it back for you. But he has to find nobility in that somewhere to say, yes, you were wronged. I will go right that wrong. And there we are. But I agree. It takes a special kind of person to find that in playing a thief or a special, a different take on it. And so it wasn't high on my list either, but I eventually got there just to give myself a challenge to play. Any final thoughts on the thief on the higher tiers?
No, I think I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to here. And, don't let my personal feelings on playing a thief as a character myself color in any way, dear listeners, whether you should play a thief or not. Again, I really like the thief as a concept. I really like the options and the talents and the abilities that they get, but I just personally, the temperament that I have and the types of characters that I personally like to play, the thief just isn't one of them, which is fine.
Yeah. Fighter is not my thing, and that's okay. Warrior, Swordmaster, not my bag of tricks. I'm good with a whole bunch of other things. So one of those things. Everyone's got the things that they like, and we hope that this one filled out the thief a whole lot more for you. Josh's 4 or 5 minute recap at the beginning of the show is fantastic. Please do not forget, there is a Kickstarter going. Need all the help we can possibly get, because that, like Josh says, unlocks the higher tiers for the artwork, and artwork is just cool. Got to pay the artists, and we need to pay the artists. So until next time, folks, join the Kickstarter, back that, find your way to make a good thief for yourself, and go steal what you need for your legend.
Good night, everybody.